said captain, I felt like I was joining a very exclusive club. I think you know our transporter operator, Pike said, and I saw a familiar face at the console. Mr. Scott, I said, need someone to carry your toolkit? Show me your toolkit. We shook hands warmly. I knew Scott had been transferred to the ship as an engineer, and I was thrilled. This was one bit of luck I would never take for granted, and I was sure to make sure that he was permanent. Thanks for the officers, Scott said, but I've got plenty of help here already. He gave me a weary smile, and I noticed his eyes were a little bloodshot. Rough night, I said? Doing a little horseback riding and walking? My going-away party, Pike said. Come on, we've got a lot to cover. Pike took me on a tour of the ship, giving me a rundown of the areas of the refit that weren't finished yet. It had been a while since I'd been on a Constitution-class ship, and its comfort was inviting. When we got to the bridge, it was twice the size of the Hotspurs. It felt like a living room. There were several familiar faces there. Lee Kelso was at navigation. Scotty had come up from the transport room and was monitoring the engineering console, and Mr. Spock was at the science station looking into his viewer. Pike took me over to him. Mr. Spock, Pike said, this is Captain Kirk. Spock stood up from his viewer at attention. We've had the pleasure. At ease, I said. He is, Pike said, smiling. Your record is very impressive, Mr. Spock, I said. I look forward to serving with you. Thank you, Captain Spock said. Please let me know if there's any way I can be of service. It sounded as though he had memorized it off a flashcard. At that moment, I wasn't sure I was ever going to be completely comfortable with that guy. Pike then continued on the tour. Scotty came with us to engineering. While down there, Pike waved over another officer to introduce me. I guess he didn't know we'd already met. It was Ben Finney. I politely cut off Pike's introduction by extending my hand. Good to see you, Ben, I said. I wasn't going to assume bad feeling. To my surprise, Ben smiled and shook my hand, albeit somewhat formally. Congratulations, sir, Ben said. Nice seeing you again. We talked briefly about Jamie, and then he excused himself to return to his post. It was difficult to tell how he was feeling about me. Ben acted properly, was even friendly. I hope this indicated my concern about serving with him was unfounded. Pike and I continued on, finally ending in Pike's quarters, which it took me a minute to realize would soon be mine. I'd forgotten how much larger a captain's quarters were on a Constitution-class ship. I had gotten used to my stateroom on the Hotspur, which wasn't much more than a bed and a closet. Pike and I sat on opposite sides of the desk and went over specific members of the crew. He had recommended Spock for my first officer, but I wasn't comfortable enough with him to give him that position. I wanted to keep him on as science officer and asked Pike if Spock would care if someone was brought in over him. If he did, Pike said, he'd rather die than let you know. He's all about the work. We then went through a few more. Pike's chief engineer was retiring. I was determined to give Scotty that position. Mark Piper from the Republic had replaced Pike's chief medical officer, Philip Boyce, who had died about a year before the end of Pike's mission. I could see that the loss had affected him. Pike said that the death of Boyce was the first sign that maybe he had stayed in space too long. I probably need a break, Pike said, although he definitely sounded ambivalent. He started talking about the ship and how much it meant to him, that the mission itself was much more trying than he ever expected. The Constitution-class ships were designed to operate without a net. You really are on your own. He had lost a lot of friends during the 10 years he'd been on the Enterprise. This job will rip the guts out of you, he said. You have no choice but to lean on people. This crew will become your friends. He took another long pause. And then they'll die. We sat in silence for a long moment. I didn't quite know what to make of that advice. I'd faced death of crewmen for my whole career, but I felt like answering would only make me appear weak, self-justifying, so I sat in silence until he was ready to move on. He then decided it was time to transfer command, and he ordered the ship's crew to report to the hangar deck. A few minutes later, I was part of a ceremony I'd witnessed only once. Pike and I stood at a podium near the bay doors, facing the 400 faces of the crew. Spock stood by, and Pike gave him a nod. Attention to orders, Spock said, shouting. I'd never seen a Vulcan raise his voice. It was unnerving, but I suppose it was necessary serving aboard a starship. I stepped up to the podium, placed the tape of orders in the portable viewer that was set there, and read them. To Captain Christopher Pike, Commander USS Enterprise, you are hereby promoted to Fleet Captain and requested and required to relinquish command to Captain James T. Kirk as of this date. Signed, Hiagacho Nogura, Admiral Starfleet Command. I then returned to Pike. I relieve you, sir. I stand relieved, Pike said. He then went to the men's room. We should